CM Punk is back in WWE, ladies and gentlemen. I repeat, CM Punk is back in WWE. It's been 9 years since we all seen Phillip Brooks inside of a WWE ring with that WWE logo in the right corner, bottom right to be exact. And it's crazy because I, like many others, thought we'd never see the day. But here we are. Now, for those of you who aren't just casuals and you actually, follow the wrestling product, which I'm pretty sure you are if you're watching this, this ain't the first time we've seen Punk back in the ring as he's been in AEW the past 2 years. And we know how that situation has ended and how it was, it looked toxic from, both sides. Punk is to blame for some of his actions there too, as well as what AEW and some of their talent was doing as well, and how it just ended all messy, which ultimately led to, Punk's firing this past August or September, whenever it happened. The firing came after the latest incident he had there with Jack Perry at the All In pay-per-view, where they got into a scuffle in the back, and Tony Khan has stated that he said he feared for his life because the reports say that Punk lunged at him or whatever. And that came off the backs of, Punk having disputes with the Elite, Omega, the Young Bucks to be exact, Hangman, Adam Page. So a lot of drama and tension within the locker room that permeated throughout the years that Punk was there, even leading to Punk getting his own show in AEW Collision. Collision was actually a good show too. I went to a taping too one time this past summer and saw Punk there. It was a decent show. The show I went to, it was weird because it was in the middle of a week. Like the week before, they had a great show. Then they had the show that I went to. Then the week after was another great show that they had. It was like, I just happened to get the middle of the line show, I guess. All of that drama that that happened in AEW is in the past. Because right now we're looking at CM Punk back in the WWE at a time when WWE is booming. It's booming right now. Like, wrestling is hot, mainly because of WWE product. AEW is great too. Look, people have some things to say about AEW, especially the casuals. But look, if you actually watch AEW, and I'm gonna be honest right here, I feel like since All Out or All In, it's kind of been like, it's kind of been hit or miss. There's still been some great matches, but as far as like a strong product, I don't feel like AEW has been that since that. But beforehand, shit, I feel like AEW was great, especially as an alternative to WWE, which is what they was built off of. But now that WWE is back and rolling and the product is hot right now, it's like, what are they gonna do? With Punk back in the WWE, it's a big deal because if you know how he left and why he left back in 2014, it was a big deal. Like Punk, that's why it was even a big deal for Punk to even come back to wrestling in the first place in AEW, because Punk was away from wrestling for a while, and for him to come back to WWE, obviously Vince McMahon is not at the helm creatively anymore, or even people are saying he's not even really in power anymore. It's kind of apparent too with some of the moves that has been taking place in WWE, especially after this new Endeavor deal, that Vince doesn't have as much power as he once did, or he's kind of been forced to take a step back. And look at all the things that are coming from it and there's new ways that we're going into with the WWE that, like I said, is making the overall product of wrestling hot. But with Punk coming back, I was shocked. I was actually at work watching Survivor Series when it happened, and I can tell, because leading up to Survivor Series, rumors was always going around like, Punk's contract and the clause, the 90-day clause should be up around the time around Survivor Series, and especially nowadays with any event in Chicago, and with Survivor Series being in Chicago, people was like, Punk's coming back there. But with going back to what I said, with when people are, with people saying that Punk will never go back. He even said himself he won't never go back, and it looks like it was a possibility that it wasn't going to happen. People was shutting it down, but fans like myself, I was one of those people who was hoping I think Punk might actually still come back. I think this might actually happen. I think this might be a thing that may be kept under wraps, that it's not going to be a thing where the fans just speculate and they're just going to let us down. I think it was going to happen, and man, they almost had me. But as the pay-per-view went on, which was a good pay-per-view, mainly for the bigger matches. The War Games matches, the Gunther and Miz match is really good too. But as the pay-per-view ended, after the War Games match, you had all the baby faces in the ring. Randy Orton came back that night as well. Let's not overshadow that and the legend that he is. And they, did the pan out shot, the logo in the bottom, like the closing logo, copyright, talking about the press conference coming up next in the bottom right corner, the pan out shot of the Allstate Arena, and then the infamous static hit. Oh, I let out a scream that I did not think I was capable of. I kid you not. You hear my voice now, and obviously it can get a little bit more high pitched at times, but nah, the scream, I can't even repeat the scream I did. The scream that let out of me when that static hit and Punk came back, it just embodied the emotion I felt, and just what's fun about being a wrestling fan altogether, because that sense of like hope of like, it was like a sense of like loss, like dang, he might actually come back. But I even told my friends at the time in the group, I was like, there's still time left on the clock. It was like 10:53 or something, and it wasn't even 11 o'clock. I was like, there's still time left on the clock, y'all. Like, I don't know. Let's not count all our eggs in the basket just yet. And it still got me. Like, I was still caught up in the moment, emotional and excited to see him come back, because man, it's been so long. Like, I can go back, and I'm not going off any notes right now. I'm kind of just spitballing, just talking, just having free thoughts right now. I can remember going back to pivotal moments of my life as a child watching wrestling, and CM Punk was a favorite of mine growing up. And as I look back, like, as I think about it more, because he was never really like a guy who, like, he's not like in my top 5 right now, I would say, but he still also had an impact on me as a child watching the product. And I have a lot of memories of watching him. I can remember the infamous pipe bomb promo he did. I remember that night. Like, I remember when that happened, I was like, whoa, what's going on? That whole CM Punk that led after that, I should say. I remember I went to a show when he was doing the Straight Edge Society, and that's when he shaved. I think that's when he shaved the head of, I forgot what the woman's name was in the group at that time. But that happened. There was some other shows that took place that I went to that he was a part of. And seeing him at ECW. And even when he left, like, I was hurt. I was hurt when he left. And like how it happened. And I remember all of the podcasts that came out from it, like all the backlash, Punk being like heated about it, like all the rumors throughout the years, maybe he's coming back, maybe he won't, and this and that and the third. And I was just kind of just left it like, dang, there was kind of like a hole that was missing with him being gone. And it was really even pointed out to me even more when I went to an AEW show, my first one actually, and MJF cut that promo on, and that's when he was feuding with CM Punk about like how he felt. At the time, it was 7 years of how the void was when CM Punk left him for those 7 years, and like how you left all of us hanging. I was like, yeah, MJF, like I feel you, because that's how I felt too. So to see him come back, man, it really caught me, man. And obviously it caught and affected the world, because it led to a boom for WWE social media. To the point, let's go past this, I should say, where like it was like the most liked post on all of the WWE social media platforms. I had people even coming up to me like, man, should I watch Raw the next night? Should I watch to see what's going on? Like, people was talking to me like, man, you see CM Punk coming back? Because people know I'm a big wrestling fan. They like, yeah, man, like, that even gets me excited. I like when people get interested in the product and see things like that. And they're like, oh, man, it's cool. Because, like, at one point in time, majority of people were wrestling fans, whether you fall out of it because of, like, quote unquote is fake, or you just grow out of it. Cause I even stopped watching wrestling for a time, but to see moments like that happen and pull people back in and get everybody's attention, like, you don't get that too often, especially in wrestling nowadays, especially with the internet where a lot of things can be spoiled. But man, that was just such a great moment. Now, what's to come after that? What's to come to that? Like, what's next? Like, let's get past the fanfare that we felt and the emotion we felt when he came back. But what's next? What's going to happen now? Well, as you all saw too, that video that was circulating around of when Punk was coming out, how Seth Rollins was reacting ringside. People caught that fan video of him like cussing, like, and giving like Punk the bird, and Mark Cole holding him back, because like people was rumoring coming up to this too that Seth Rollins was the rumored opponent that CM Punk should face at WrestleMania. And as I'm saying these things, it's still so crazy to me because these were always just rumors and speculations that me and other people in the IWC made up, and everybody was like, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. And I even had some doubt too. I even I was having these doubts like, I would like if Punk would come back, but would he actually come back? But when you look at the situation, let's be honest. Once he got fired from AEW, where was he going to go? As big of a name CM Punk is, I know Impact offered him a deal, but they wasn't going to be able to offer him the money and the opportunity, the flexibility that he could get with WWE. It wasn't going to be as big. Like, you leave AEW, which, hey, again, I love AEW. I love it as a wrestling product. It's still number 2. You leave number 2. You go back to number 1. You, especially at a time like this, like the roster is stacked. The roster that WWE has is stacked with so many stars, and it's ridiculous. And not even just like stars who can wrestle. Like, I feel like everybody who's like a name in WWE right now, or isn't who isn't in WWE for the most part, can go. They can wrestle. Like, look at the names that Punk can go off. All right, hold on. Let's stay on track. The gummy's starting to hit. Let's stay on track here. Let's go to look at the possibilities of names that Punk can face. You got Seth Rollins. Like I said, that's the obvious first choice. That's what it's like. It's going to be at Mania. You got him. You got Cody. You got Sami Zayn, who we haven't seen him worked with in WWE. Kevin Owens, Finn Balor, Damian Priest, Drew McIntyre. Let's go to the SmackDown side. You got Roman Reigns. You got AJ Styles. You got LA Knight, Logan Paul. He can work with Reagan. He can work with Gunther. He can work with Bobby Lashley, Montez Ford. Some of the guys in the NXT, Carmelo Hayes, Ilya Dragunov, Braun Breaker. Like, there's a list of guys and people for the next few years that on this deal that Punk is on, he could work with. Now, the bigger matches that I want to see him have within this year, obviously we're going to go into a few with him and Seth. But where does that go for the Punk character? How are we going to get there? Is it going to be a long, drawn-out thing where we have to do it to Mania? I wouldn't mind that. At this point, I don't mind that because the next pay-per-view we have is Royal Rumble in January. And then we have Chamber, then you have Mania in April, right? I think it's where we go. Especially, given how the show went on Monday as well, I think it's going to be him and Seth. Because after that video, after everybody speculating is it true or not, and we saw that house show footage the following night where Rollins was like, I'm not going to waste my time on a hypocrite anymore. I'm not going to talk about this guy, blah, blah, blah. Rollins was cutting a promo when he came out on Raw. And, he even kind of echoed the same thing he said that night at the house show. And CM Punk, I would say I was underwhelmed with the type of promo that he had for his first promo back on Raw. I know time was a little bit short for him too. He probably had like 8 minutes to do it. Let's also say this too: for a show that many was anticipating, and you had like a lot of non-casuals watching, I feel like WWE could have did a better show for Raw that night. But for that Punk promo, it was cool. It wasn't really anything too crazy. But what did we expect him to say that night? WWE is not like AEW in the sense that they're not gonna have these guys go out there cut like these, unnecessarily controversial promos, or where they mentioning the other company's names and shit. Like WWE, like they're not gonna do that because WWE, they feel like they're number 1. If you're number 1, you're not gonna say anything about number 2. That's how they feel. So I shouldn't expect like him to go out there and really like talk too much about AEW. He made some hints. And had some jabs, but he wasn't gonna fully say, people want to know why. Why did I leave the other place? And like go into like, something like that. He wasn't gonna fully address it. Maybe we'll see something like that throughout the following weeks, because even though WWE don't do that too often, they'll still have some moments where people will say a line or two kind of referencing something in the past with a wrestler or the other, or other things that they've done, or AEW or whatever. I don't know what I just gonna say I don't know what I really expected. I don't know what I really expected in a promo from him that night on Monday. But if this is a slow build that is going to Mania, how do they build up to it? Are we building it to where we going to see, Punk into the Rumble and he goes on to win and face Seth? Is it I seen people say where we're probably going to see Seth Rollins, kind of push Punk to the brink of, being the old Seth. Maybe we see a situation where Punk comes back as a reformed person and he's not really as edgy or as controversial as people thought he may be. So maybe that's where Seth Rollins kind of brings that out of him throughout time, and that's what we lead into their Mania match. So who knows what kind of story they're building. Now I'm intrigued to look to see where it goes, because that's going to be a banger of a match. I think it's going to be a great match right there. I think given the people that he's in the ring with and Punk's health, because that was an issue in his run in AEW, especially towards the end, I think he can still put on a great match. It's very possible for him to do so. And I think coming off the last injury, he's doing just fine. Like I said, I saw him at a show with Collision. And even his last match at AEW against Samoa Joe was still a good match. So I think that him and Rollins' match is going to be great. And who knows? Maybe he does win the world title. Maybe he doesn't. He's also at that point too where he doesn't need. I ain't gonna say he doesn't need to win, but because I saw out there too that he's getting legendary status. So maybe a role kind of like what Edge was, where Edge took his L's, but he had his wins as well. But he took a lot of L's, especially towards the end. He took a lot of losses. He beat Finn Balor, he beat Sheamus on his way out as well as Grayson Waller too. I just want to kind of just talk about it, just kind of get it out there because I'm excited. I'm excited about this. I'm excited where the company is going, where WWE is going right now with their returns. And hey, Tony Khan, they at your neck, big dog. What? How do you respond? How do you respond? They're at your neck right now, man. I love AEW. I love MJF. That's my boy. That's my dog. I love MJF. I like what they're doing with Swerve Strickland right now. I seen MJF is also hurt too, so that's crazy. How it was, where they go with that. Orange Cassidy, really my guy too. I love Orange Cassidy. They got Will Ospreay. They do got Will Ospreay. That's another one of my guys. Kenny Omega. Bang! Boy, I love me some Omega. How do you respond? Because WWE done up the score. They done picked up some big names from AEW. We haven't seen Jade Cargill yet, but we're going to see her eventually. We know she's there, though. We're starting to see people go from AEW to WWE. Obviously, we've seen Edge go to AEW. How many people, or if we're going to see more people go and leave the company, go to AEW now, or we're going to start seeing people from AEW who once was in WWE to come back to the company. Who knows? But, hey, look, as a fan, I'm happy. I'm enjoying what was going on. I'm coming from a time, too. Like I said, if you know me, I stopped watching wrestling for a good 2-year period between 2018 and a little bit of 2020. Most of 2020, actually. I don't think I picked up for real until 21. I watched a few shows here in 2020, but not too many. I love where wrestling is right now. I love where WWE is right now. It's hot. It's a hot product going to Mania, and God willing, no big injuries from the roster, and we can probably have one of the best WrestleManias of all time at WrestleMania 40 in Philly. Shit, I might fuck around and go. I'm not that far. I fuck around and go. I don't know. I'm happy. Where do we go from here? CM Punk is back.